All right, I had a really fun game against the new Wolves of the Sea detachment. I wanted to show this one off. This was against Auce, the judge of the SBOT Finals, so someone who definitely knows what he's doing, how to put a list together. This was a really interesting take on a list. He didn't want to go with just the standard Dragon Lord, so he went with something a little bit more interesting. I think it's a really interesting sort of build archetype that I'm excited to explore more. Probably look at getting some Wolves of the Sea games in maybe next week, something along those lines. I think it's just a really interesting way to play. It's a lot of really punchy small units, and I'm really interested in seeing how well that deals with a lot of the sort of meta threats that we see. So, starting off, we've got a demons. There's not wings listed on here, but it did have wings. Demonic plate mail, which takes you up to T6, which is really nice. Biting blade, which is AP2. Brass collar, giving you magic resist 2. Extra arm for an extra attack. Mark and Nurgle as well. This opens up the ability to take the Mark and Nurgle spell. The remains in play, gives you +1 toughness. So that takes you up to toughness 7. This was a level 4 caster. I believe it was dark magic as well, because that unlocks the frenzy and hatred that you can put on some units. Not necessarily going to need the frenzy on the Berserkers, but hatred's quite good. Then we've got Golrock, 465 points, and that is just base model there. Dark caster, all the good stuff. Marauder Tribe Berserkers, 5 units, I think it was. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah. So the only upgrade they have here, it's 5 models. They have flails. They're inherently, 5-inch move. They've got the rolled in frenzy. They hit really hard. T4, 6-up save, 6-up ward. Just makes them surprisingly hard to shift for such a cheap unit. And you can, in even 3 models, punch up reasonably well. Then we've got some Marauder Horsemen as well. 3 units of those, 2 of them with Flails, Mark of Khorne, Musician, 1 with Flails and Mark of Khorne. Just a case of points, making sure everything fits in there. 5 Chaos Warriors, 92 points, Mark of Khorne, Shields, Champion, Musician. I'd like to see maybe a Charmed Shield in here for 5 points. This is obviously to unlock the detachments. At the start of the game, before the game begins, you can make a challenge with one of your 1 wound infantry. Your opponent can accept with one of their 1 wound infantry. You fight, whoever wins goes first. You really want something that's punchy. I think the Chaos Warrior is probably the best choice here. Mark of Khorne, 3 attacks. I did have a chance to beat him on that, but we'll get into that one in a second. But I really like the Khorne, Mark of Khorne. You're only initiative 4, so there are some things that can fight before you, but against those armies, maybe you just don't decide to go for the challenge. There's also 5 Skin Wolves. These things are spicy. Really big fan of those. And then there's also 2 Gigantic Spawn with the Mark of Khorne. So that's different to how I run them. I really like them with Nurgle. But especially if you're in a melee match, they punch really hard. That killing blow really does help. So we've got everything here for Auce's list, and fairly standard. It's a lot of small units, wants to run at you as fast as possible. Probably going to go first because he's got a really good unit that's going to be challenging, and then just wants to get in and slapping as soon as possible. Over to my list. This is the list that I ended up taking to the Square-based event that I was at this weekend just gone. I'll be putting a video out about that list on Thursday, probably, talking about what I think is good about it, what is bad about it, why I'm probably going to move on to a different army, but I'll talk about that more down the line. So this is around that gutter cloud that I've been playing. So it's actually 20 gutter runners. I've made a slight tweak here. 20 gutter runners with throwing weapons, joined by the Gracier with Demonology, Lore Familiar, Obsidian Lodestone, and the Skaven Chieftain, who's got BSB and is also the Banner of Verminous Scurrying. This is the banner that gives you Swift Stride, so it just means you can get out of there a little bit faster, which is always useful. Shadow Magnet on there as well, which is very important. Gives you that additional -1 to be shot. Not important in this matchup, but just good in general to have. It's a layered defense. Then there's the Warlord, who is a 2nd level 4 caster, Gracier. This time Battle Magic with the Ruby Ring of Ruin. Just pumping as much consistent damage out as possible. Always good to have. In core, we've got 2 units of 20 clan rats with a weapon team, both upgraded to have a musician and a champion. Weapons team is just the standard rattling gun. Great stuff. Taking 2 is nice. 2 units of giant rats, 10 rats, 1 master molder, 42 points, goes in a marching column. All good stuff there. 3 rat swarms, a unit 108 points. I like them, but they're quite pricey. I might play around with those if I play any more Skaven. Then I've got the big unit of gutter runners that the 2 characters join, the Grey Seer and the Skaven Chieftain. And then I've got 2 units of 12 gutter runners with slings. This is something I have shamelessly lifted from Jack Allen Morpheus because I think it's really effective. And there's an interesting shape in here for how to deploy them that I'm excited to show off. So moving on, we just played some open battle. We played this very early on. This was before Warhall's updated with all of the stuff that you might expect to see, but I don't think that matters. They might have updated now, but because there's so many skirmishes around, I'm just going to move to this straight into the first one. Basically, this is what happened after deployment. This is the first turn. So Auce made a challenge and had the Khorne, Marker Khorne, 3 attacks, Warrior of Chaos, Strength 4, AP 1, got a 4-up save. So he was feeling quite comfortable about winning. I accepted the challenge with my Gutter Runner champion, the Assassin, which has 3 attacks at initiative 5. It's only Strength 3 with no AP, but does have poison. I rolled my attacks out. I rolled 2 6s and a miss, but Auce made both the saves. So that could have gone quite poorly for him, but got away with it there. So just a slight correction from what I said before. The Demon Prince wasn't a caster. It was just a beat stick character, which I think is really interesting. I might be tempted to go the Demon Prince tooled up as a dark magic caster. Maybe not run Galrock. I could see going that way, but definitely some interesting choices to go with there. So deployment, Auce managed to put down a lot of small units before I had to do anything. Before he had to do anything real. So he had Berserkers. He had some Horsemen back here, basically deploying as much as possible on the line. Characters and the spawn were in the center. So 2 giant spawn here. Golrock was stood behind, and I think that's about it. The Demon Prince was off to the side, screened, just playing it safe as much as possible. As for myself, I had 2 units of the Gutter Runners. Clan Rats, in the center. I had the big unit of Gutter Runners here with the characters attached because I wanted to play it safe, make sure I didn't get magical missiled off the board or anything weird happening. And then I had some giant rats on the flank and some rat swarms over here as well. So just the sort of fairly standard, trying to play a little bit safe. Then I deployed my skirmishers, my scouts. So the 1 unit of Gutter Runners was deployed here in the center, which was 17, just within 17 inches of all of the Marauder Horsemen, so they all had to charge because everything in this list is frenzied, which is a real limitation of it. You can definitely play around with it with a fast list like mine. The second unit of scouts was just over here because I didn't really want to risk getting charged. The wood here blocked off any sort of nice angles on this side. So I just thought that it was probably better to play it safe with them. They've got 18-inch range. My opponent's going to run at me. Worst comes to worst, I can move forwards to get in range of shooting if I want to. The formatting here is quite nice. This is what I stole from Jack. So it takes up less footprint than going diagonal. It's also easier to move around, but you've got 5, 5, and then 2 in the center, and you go in sort of a V like this. And the reason you do that is you've got really good line of sight, so you can see anything up this line and up this line. So for a unit that doesn't want to move, which is slings basically, you can stand still and you're likely going to be able to shoot without taking too much footprint. When you've got other things that want to shoot past them or move past them, I just really like it. I did consider deploying them over here, but I've had to put them up against the wall, which felt like a little bit of a risk that I wasn't willing to take. And also the Berserkers were just going to run right past me, so didn't want to have to deal with that. So Auce's turn 1 is just go forwards as much as possible. All 3 declared a charge here. The Gutter Runners declared a standard shoot. Because 3 units shot, I shot into the Marauder Horsemen over here. 6 were in the unit originally, I believe. I killed 3 of them. So, reducing that there. And then the other 2 units, I believe, failed to catch me here as well, which was interesting. So, fail charge, giant spawn pushing up down the middle as well. Not too much happening, just the sort of standard frenzy baiting you can get away with if you've got some skirmishes on turn 1. Moving into my turn 1, the Gutter Runners moved forwards here. These Gutter Runners moved up as well, so they walked forwards to screen, basically the giant spawner in the center there. I got all of the buffs off that you might expect to see. Demonic Figure, Demonic Vessel, Steed of Shadows, just throwing as much at the wall and making sure it sticks. And they flew over here to get into line of sight and range of the giant spawn. The second unit of Gutter Runners moved forwards as well to make sure they were in range from the giant spawn. This unit here, as previously mentioned, screening. and weapons team moved up. This weapons team was already in range over here, so I didn't feel a need to move it too much. They just shuffled sideways to the left a little bit, and everything else just sort of made sure it was out of range of the Demon Prince. I didn't want to give him just sort of free reign to shoot through my lines. That was going to be a problem. So on the left-hand flank, the giant rats ran away. Obviously, they can't flee from a charge, so I don't want to get tied up. I wanted to make sure that my opponent wasn't able to do much. I just stood right at the edge of their charge range, making sure that these two units had to charge this way. This small unit of Berserkers had to charge into this unit here, which meant that I was going to run away. I was going to use the Banner of Firmness scurrying. I was going to flee through this unit. I was going to end up safely over here. That's the game plan. Shooting goes really well. First unit of Gutter Runners just completely kills a giant spawn. This is where I really like having the Mark and Nurgle. I did say that, and Auce was like, yeah, but how many people are running 44 Gutter Runners, which I think is fair criticism. So this unit absolutely picked up one of the giant spawn. I don't know why it's not shown on the map. There were two. The other Gutter Runners between them shot the second one to death, and then the magic missiles and the rattling gun, that's the word I'm looking for, did 3 wounds into Golrock, or it was some combination of, I think it might have been magic missiles and some Gutter Runners did 3 wounds into Golrock, and Gutter Runners and the rattling guns killed the second gigantic spawn. But whichever way around it was, 2 spawn died, 3 wounds on Golrock, looking like a really good turn 1. I'm pretty happy about how that's going. Not upset at all about that. However, there is a problem with my deployment that I hadn't quite twigged, and I'll get onto that when I get into my turn, I guess. So going to Auce's turn 2, things go as I'd expect to. So he has to declare a charge here. So the Berserkers charge down this way. These 2 units of Berserkers that are touching the terrain, they both have to declare a charge into these rats, who do have to hold because they're unbreakable. Other than that, it kind of just sort of consolidates its position. Golrock stays where he is. The horses... I think, is it all 3 units of horses charge into this unit of Gutter Runners? Something along those lines. Oh, it was 2 units and some Berserkers. The Skin Wolves also charge into this unit in the centre here. I declare a flee with the Gutter Runners. I flee safely over this unit here. Nice and easy. Ending up where I think they should do. See the Shadows making sure that I comfortably get past. There's no issues there. Flying over my own models. I've fled from everything because I'm a cowardly rat, and just goes from there. So far, I'm feeling really good about things. This is looking exactly as it should. Going into my turn, then what happens? And I called a screenshot halfway through this turn, so this is not exactly where things end. So again, start of my turn, get all my buffs off. Things are going great. The unit of Gutter Runners moves up here, and I spend ages positioning them so they're all in range of the Demon Prince. I then managed to get Arcane Urgency off from my my level 4 caster over here, and at that point, the unit moves up behind Golrock. And like I said, I took the screenshot too early, but the Gutter Runners do end up here behind Golrock. I'm like, cool, perfect. I just need to do 3 wounds to this dragon. Shouldn't be a problem at all. The giant rats charge into the Berserkers, because I think, sure, you might be T4, but theoretically I've got the edge if I charge you. I fight in extra ranks. We'll see how that goes. These giant rats just move up to move block the Marauder Horsemen, make it so that they have to charge me and overrun. This is, standard frenzy baiting. And other than that, I just sort of shuffle around and try and make it so that the next turn's charge isn't going to be too horrendous for me. This is where I realised that I've made a mistake, because I've not left myself any room. I've gone for like my standard sort of deployed flank on the left-hand side, or right-hand side, sorry, against an army that can push forward this fast and is near guaranteed to turn 1. What I probably should have done is not do that and spread out more. And this has really sort of bit me in the backside. A lot of my stuff's going to get charged and issues are going to happen. On the left flank here, I decided to charge in with the rat swarms. Yes, again, I'm only on 6s, but theoretically, the density of attacks I have, I was like, this is probably fine. Good limit testing for a practice game, but maybe not something that I'll be doing again in the future. So, going into the shooting phase, the Gutter Runners, who are actually over here, shooting Golrock, I don't think I get a single wound through. I think he saves all of them, which this is where I start to sweat. I'm like, oh Jesus, this is not going well. I lose the combat down on the right. This one down here, I lose the combat. Fantastic. That's probably as expected. I also lose this combat, so I give ground, and I think Auce just follows up as well. It's, yeah, basically all of the combats that I've chosen and the shooting I've picked have gone wrong. So my turn 2, nothing happens, and it was a turn I really needed to put my foot in the gas and cause some issues for him. So moving on to Auce's turn 3, you can see here there is a potential for Gorok to do some shenanigans with the Breath of Change. So we talk about the Breath of Change and how it's not technically a shooting attack and can I evasive away from it, etc., etc. What we end up deciding is, yes, I can. Gorok positions in a way that he could theoretically Breath of Change out my caster, because we weren't going to allow him to look out, so I don't know if that's correct, but because of that, I decided I have to evasive. I'm in a position where if I roll a 6, I'm going to flee off the board. Fortunately, I don't roll that 6, and I managed to, keep my unit alive and just flee backwards. As you can see here, the entirety of my line just crumples. The 2 units of Berserkers here are in combat with the Rat Swarms. I'm down to 1 at the end of the turn. Gutter Runners, I'm down to 4 here. This unit of Clan Rats is gone. So basically, I'm in a position where the Gutter Runner Cloud, the big 900-point unit, that's fine. That has all the points. That's still alive. Everything else is either dead or about to die. So I've got to pull a lot of, hard work to get back into this game. Not much happens other than that. Oh yes, last turn I did 1 wound to Gorok, not none. But yeah, everything else just moves forwards. I'm in a position where I now need to really utilize my unit to get as many points as possible, because I've only got 3 turns to basically kill 1,100 points worth of stuff, aside from what's already died. Obviously, the giant spawns being dead is good, but I still need to kill like 700 points or so to get back into this game. So then coming into my turn 3, Gorok does die. This unit just bunches up, uses the fact that Gorok is a large target. I stay as bunched up as possible, making sure that if he tries to do any shenanigans with a breath weapon again, I can safely fall back in good order and, well, evasive away and not risk being absolutely murdered there or falling off the table. In the center here, I try and pick up a couple of pieces. I don't think, unfortunately, I managed to kill anything. A lot of things almost die. So there's individual Marauder, 2 Marauder Berserkers. These are Marauder Horsemen. Down here, you can see that the Demon Prince is in combat with some rats, which is not going to last very long. The big unit of clan rats that was here has fled off the board. So it's literally just a case of everything has chased me down, and I am regretting my positioning. What I should have done is probably put a couple of units over here, maybe both with the rattling guns, and then put everything else expensive over here with maybe the gutter runners, and just made him split his units up. So I could then fly around with the big gutter runner star that's currently up here, and if half his army was over here and half was over here, I could just pick away at it. And if he decided to go, I kill this half first and then I move over here, the other side of the board's just going to try and stay safe. And at that point, I only have to kill 600 or 700 points with the gutter runner star to be in the clear. So definitely some learning to be taken from that, and something that I did do better over the weekend from the events that I've just played. Turn 4, Auce's turn. Yeah, everything's dead. Everything's dead. The only thing that's left for me is this gutter runner star. Some charges, they finish up, there's a couple of bits and pieces. Basically what happens is everything just sort of moves around, kills and catches the last bits in combat, and everything else just sort of positions to try and stay safe. So these Marauder Horsemen down here, both individual models, yes, I'm going to get 25 points from them, but I'm not going to get full points. So they're just sort of skirting off to the sides. Down here, individual units trying to stay safe. The 2 skin wolves, that's 225 points. So they stay super safe. They are just, getting out of there. I can only move 24 inches, which is a downside. I can't teleport around the board. So I've got my work cut out for me. So into my turn 4, previously, you can see here, there's some Warriors of Chaos. That's 92 points. On my turn, I march forwards. I get my spells off. I eat that Warriors. Good start. Killed 1 thing. We do some maths, and I realize that I probably need to kill the Demon Prince, realistically, but that's going to be hard to do. So that's, I need to kill either the Demon Prince or the Skin Wolves to get back in the game. That's the big point sink that I want to clear up. On my turn, kill just the Warriors of Chaos. It's not very much of a turn. There's not a lot to be done. And move on to Auce's turn. As you can see, everything just scarpers. So we had a good talk about this. This was a really fun sort of puzzle to solve, to see how we could keep the Demon Prince as safe as possible. So Auce ties 2 units of Marauder Berserkers around it. So you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, just completely screening it. And then I pointed out, oh, keep in mind, I can just stand on the hill. I'll be able to see you. So then he filled up the hill with his Marauders as well. These two came back on after chasing some clan rats off the board, I think it was, or maybe gutter runners. So between them, there was a spot where, I could have kept like 7 or 8 models in here, maybe. But I'm concerned that I'm not going to be able to kill the Demon Prince with his layered saves. So, that's something that's, I didn't relish. So I decided not to go for that when it came around to my turn. Auce has killed everything he needs to do. All he needs to do is protect his units now. And this was a really fun sort of interaction where we worked out how best to try and crack each other's game plan. Into my turn 5, I moved forwards. I killed 1 unit on the hill. I knew I wasn't going to be able to kill much this turn. I also knew that I couldn't risk getting close in case I somehow failed to charge, and then what goes from being either a draw or a close loss, depending on what I do on the last turn, becomes just an absolute shambles. So I move more into the middle of the board. I'm hoping what this will do is it'll give me room to either get down here for the skin wolves in the bottom left, or get into the Demon Prince over here on the right. I believe I'm in range here to force a charge, so I wanted to try and make Auce's position a little worse. That's the game plan. So kill some Marauders, get 45 points, and know that whatever I do on my last turn is what it all comes down to. Turn 6, as stated, the charges come in. I have to flee away from the charge. I can't risk getting tied up by Berserks. They hit so hard, this unit would just disappear. So I do flee away, and because I flee away, Auce realizes he can just move his Demon Prince, the full march away from me, and he bubble wraps his skin wolves with the Marauder Horsemen there. And that's that. That was the end of the game. I managed to kill some Marauder Horsemen, which leaves it at like a 12-8 or an 11-9 loss to me. Really fun game. Really enjoyed it. Definitely made me think more about my positioning. Like I say, I want to be sort of tied into the corners here. A lot of fun back and forth. I think this is a really interesting list style. I'm interested in building some Wolves of the Sea. I really like the Demon Prince. This Demon Prince was not a caster, but I think if I'm going into characters, I quite like a Demon Prince that is a caster, dark magic, 5 spells or a lore familiar, and just use that as my sort of support piece while also being fairly good in combat. Golrock I like, but I think is too inconsistent for me to want to build around. 4 spells in dark magic with no way of picking or generating additional spells it makes me really nervous. I think there's a lot of duds in dark magic. There's not a huge amount of spells that I want, but the spells that I do want really make this list work. So that's interesting. You could also just go a battle magic caster because battle magic's very good. But I like it. Lots of MSU hitty stuff. I think it's the sort of army that a lot of things in the meta will struggle with. Not necessarily Wood Elves with their Pillar of Fire spam, but if you're looking at a list that doesn't have a lot of activations, maybe something points denial, dragons, what are they going to do? Eat 45 points of Marauders a turn? Yes, they can go for some bigger stuff, but the bigger stuff might tie them up for longer, so especially if you go Mark and Nurgle on the giant spawn, so that's something to consider. All in all, a great game. I really enjoy this, and it's something that I'm considering building towards. There's a fun conversion project where you use Skaven models for Wolves of the Sea. So you've got, your Plague Censer Bearers as your Berserks. You could have Hellpit Abominations as the giant spawn. You could go with, there's a couple of other good bits. The Horsemen are the difficult one. You could do maybe the new Doom Wheels for Horsemen, which I think would be interesting, but something to play around with. I haven't decided which way I want to go. Demon Prince could be a fun conversion as well. Some sort of mid-sized, massive rat. Huge thanks, as always, to my Grail Knight tier supporters. That is Morpheus Gaming, Mechanite, and most recently Creekhammer. Thank you as well to everyone else who's popping up on the screen right now. If you like what I do, you too can become a supporter of the channel, becoming a member down below. Or, if not, you can like the videos, share, watch. All of these things really have helped me grow the channel and will continue to help me expand over the next few months. There's a growing Close Order Discord linked down below. That's not a members-only Discord. There are members-only VIP areas, but it is something that you're more than welcome to join. We are starting to grow a great community there. It's quite active. Lots of great hobby going on down below as well. If you haven't subscribed, there'll be a link to subscribe on your screen over here, and there'll be another video to watch if you want to over there. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.